Hello everybody, this is Dr. Novak and I'm at the workbench again, and what happened is I went on a trip for a few days and we left on Sunday, didn't come back until Friday late, and I discovered that the canister, the ADA canister, was not running. And this was already 9 o'clock at night. And I went over to find out why it wasn't running. Something didn't look right. There was a lot of algae in the tank on the sides of the glass and on the plants. And I thought, what's going on here? It wasn't like this when I left. And just 5-6 days, it wouldn't have done this. So I didn't see anything until later that evening, 9 o'clock, and I realized the canister was not really running. And what happened is this intake tube, you can see there's leaves and stuff stuck on it, and particles of leaves, see, got stuck all over this, and it literally clogged it up and the canister had stopped. Now, how long was it stopped? I don't know. This is the one that's holding the BCB in it. But remember in my last videos, what I told you is that you always have to be prepared for stuff that happens. So what I'm going to do is add a strainer onto this. But see, if I add a strainer onto this, whether it be this one or my one that Eheim, this is an Eheim, it doesn't fit, I'll modify it. It's still going to have these small holes. And when you have these small holes like this, these can still get clogged up, these small holes. So what I'm going to do is cut this bottom off. So that way, this will be the path of least resistance. And I'll show you what I did on one of my other ones. Here's another one. And I've actually cut the bottom off, as you can see here. Now what happens is you have all these slits, and if they get clogged, another problem I was having is these slits here, snails would crawl on here and get sucked in. So this is really a terrible design. It's a bad design. I didn't like it when I bought them. I thought this is not good. Any engineer could see that this has not been engineered very good. And they should have made this where this was solid and then have a piece hook up to it, which would make it bigger. You know, a strainer of some sort would hook up to it for you. And that's how they should have made it. That way you have more surface, so if leaves and snails or anything else start falling on here, you're always going to have an opening somewhere on there. And in all the years I've had aquariums running canister filters, I never had any of the filters stop up on me until I bought this one, where it completely was clogged. So I can't tell you how long, how many days that filter was not running. Luckily, the motor was not damaged, because the motor, the impeller of the motor to the ADA was still in water. It was making noise, probably because of so much resistance, because no water was flowing through everything, but there was still water inside where the impeller head was. So I stopped everything. I took all the pipes, all the hoses off. These, I bled everything, made sure what water was in where the motor was, and unclogged it and started it back up. And it started back up. Nothing was wrong with the motor. It's nice and quiet like it was. But how long was the filter turned off? Now, things you have to think about when you make an anoxic filter, it didn't matter. That filter could have been off for days. I don't know. It could have been off for a few hours. I'm going to think it was off for days because of the algae buildup in the tank. So I'm going to assume that thing had shut down for days. Now, like I said, all I did was just make sure there was water inside the motor on top and started it back up again. Nothing else. Now, I knew if it's an anoxic filter and I'm using a BCB, there's no problem. The thing could be shut down for days, even weeks, and it'll still be active. And it was. In fact, I had my wife come down. I said, I want you to start this up. I got everything primed. Start it up, and I'm going to see if I can smell any hydrogen sulfide or anything else coming out of the lily pipe that's connected to the tank. And nothing. Start it right up, boom. So after it ran about an hour, it was getting late, I thought I'd do a test. So I did a quick test for nitrates, nitrites, pH, GH, everything else. There were no nitrates. There were no nitrites. pH was 7.5. So the plenum had carried the tank over, but it didn't stop the algae growth like if I was using the BCB basket inside of the ADA canister filter. But the canister filter fired right up. We didn't lose any bacteria. Okay? So a question I have to ask everybody is, if this happened to you, and like I've always said, shit happens. But if this happened to you, what would you have done if your canister filter was off for 4 or 5 days? You would have had a no good filter. It doesn't mean if you had a hang on the back filter or a canister filter, your filter would be dead. The anoxic filtration system, even though this thing was shut off, it was still working. The bacteria doesn't die. It doesn't die because it will use up all the oxygen and food supply that's in there, but then it will start getting its oxygen through other means. And remember, that's why it's called anoxic and it's called anaerobic, because it is a dimorphic bacteria that can go aerobic or anaerobic. Okay, it can do both. In other words, it will steal its oxygen from nitrates or steal its oxygen from phosphates. So if there is an BCB, if it's loaded full of nitrates or loaded full of phosphate, it will start stealing its oxygen and food supply from them. These bacteria, because they're heterotrophic bacteria, they have the capability of even going dormant. When food supply gets low, they have a ability to go dormant until the food supply goes back up again. So you don't have to worry about that. Now, all this was confirmed by a Harvard chemist who looked at it and said exactly what was going on. The thing about this is, I didn't have to worry. I just fired it right back up. Didn't have to clean out anything, didn't have to take it over to, it didn't have a big hassle. Made sure there was water inside where the head was so I wouldn't burn out the motor. And that's it. The question I have, what would you have done if this was a conventional canister filter and you're dependent on anaerobic bacteria? No spikes in ammonia. And the reason I didn't have a spike in ammonia is because the plenum that I have took care of it. And this is what I said. A lot of people complain that when you have a canister filter or hang on the back filter, you got to baby it, you got to put it in tank water. And I remember that was someone telling me that you're going to have an ammonia spike. Well, I didn't have no ammonia spike because that tank has a plenum. So there's not going to be an ammonia spike. And that's what I wrote back to him is, if you go clean your canister on the sink and you got to worry about the bacteria that you're going to kill it, you got a problem. You don't have a complete ecosystem there that will cover you in case an accident happens. And if you depend that much on your canister filter that's going to be 100% of your bacteria load, that you're so scared of cleaning it that you got to clean everything in a bucket, that's no good. So that's why I make the plenum, because if you're going to use a substrate, well, then just make a plenum anyhow. It's going to help you in case accidents happen. And it always does happen. Here's a case in point. I've never had this happen in the 50 years I've been doing aquariums. I've been doing aquariums ever since I was a child. I've never had an accident like this happen. But this is the way this is designed. So what I'm going to do is cut off the tip. Now, if I put this in here and then it's got a screen on it, or if I put something like this in here, now if these get clogged with leaves, you're going to have this big orifice here that's going to suck up any leaves into it, just like you would here. But this is now going to spread out everything and not allow this to clog up. So I'm going to make this one that I'm using in a tank, and I'm going to show you how to cut this in case you have one of these and you want to do the same thing. Now I'll be able to use this E-heim, which you can buy anywhere, and I'll be able to put this E-heim on here, slip it on here, and use this as my grate, my filter grate, like this one. And that should stop any leaves, snails, or anything else. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to detach this from the hose, and I'm just going to mark this so I know where these two meet up. And I'm just going to undo this. And this is really quite easy, really, to cut one of these. And see, this is the reason I say put a clamp on it. Look at that. See, you see these videos and you see these and they just put the tube on here, right? They don't use a clamp. Look at how easy that was to pull off of here. Look at that. That's a, you know, you're looking for trouble if you don't do this and put a clamp on it. You're just, I'm going to tell you right now that this is going to pop off. This thing's going to squirt out water or whatever, and you're going to have a big disaster. I see video after video after video of people using these glass pipes. All they do is put it like this and leave it like this. Don't do that. Put a clamp on it. Put a clamp on everything you have. Trust me. Look at this. So definitely always use a clamp whenever you're clamping your pipes together. Don't assume that nothing's going to go wrong and you're not going to have an accident. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is put this in here. Now I have a vise, and these are rubber jaws. These you can buy at any hardware store. These are magnetic rubber jaws. See, they got magnets. They got magnets on them, and you can buy these at any hardware store. And clamp this like this. Now, all I'm going to do is where this first slit is, I'm going to cut that part off like I did this one. See, I'm just going to take that bottom part off. And the reason I'm going to do that, I got a sponge here. You can wet this down. And what you're going to need is, you're going to need a Dremel. I'm going to take a little sip of coffee. Okay. I'm good to go for about 5 minutes. Anyhow, what you're going to need when you do this is you're going to need a Dremel, which most guys have Dremels, come on. And Dremel now has these quick disconnects. So if you, this is a, what they call easy lock, thin cut Dremel cutoff. It's used for metal, but you can use it to cut this off. And it goes on there like this. You lock it and you make sure it's on there nice and tight. And of course you just put this in your Dremel tool like this. It's hand tightened. No longer does, well, they do have a wrench here. Dremel does have a wrench. But, and you want to, you don't need it super fast. You don't need this at high speed. Okay? This is going to be, we're going to use this one. This is a P240, and this is a sanding disc. And I got some in my case here. And we're going to use the sanding disc to, once we cut it off, we're going to sand it. See, look, it won't cut you because I sand this one down. So we're going to do the same thing with this one. The first thing you want to do when you're going to cut glass like this, and you're going to use a Dremel tool, is you want to be very, don't push it. And you want to score it. Now, as you see, that's the reason I scored it, is because it broke off. See that? So now this is sharp. And because I did score it, it went right where the score was. So that's the reason you score it. Where did that thing go? Oh, well, it's on the ground somewhere. Anyhow. Okay. You're done with that part. Next part will be, let's bring this out a little bit. Next part will be, as you can see, it went pretty fast, no problems. That's why you score it, so it doesn't shatter. Next thing is we're going to get a little wheel like this. This is the sanding wheel. Make sure it's in there right. Grab your Dremel. I always have a Dremel. I like them. They're good little tools, good for hobbyists. Get this one going, and look at this. All right. Looks pretty good. No cracks, no chips. And as you can see, like this, you're not going to cut yourself. So when I go to clean this out, I'll be able to get a brush into it. So now, if these get clogged up, I have this, the water can still come in. And this will prevent this. So the next thing is, I want to make sure this fits this Eheim strainer. And it's close, but not quite. So now I can put this up. Next thing I'm going to do is, we're all done with this part. So as you can see, if you want to cut the bottom off of these, it's not very hard. It takes you a few minutes. And look at that. Make sure you score it though, because if you don't and the thing breaks off, it could make a big crack or take a big chip out of it. So make sure you score it, because then it will go and break where the score is. Just like you do normal glass. You score it and then boom, you break it. That's what you're doing. You're scoring the whole tube, and then if it breaks, fine, like you saw. Okay, next thing I want to do is drill this so it will fit this. Okay, so here it is, the finished product. Everything being cut, trimmed. I cleaned the tube out. Couldn't get up here very good, but here's the Eheim strainer. I had to sand it a little bit to fit over perfect. This is what it's going to do. And it'll sit in the tank like this. Now, no more clogging up these, because you have a nice big opening here to let everything come in. And here's your nice strainer. So any bigger particles that come in here will be sucked up in this hose. We shouldn't have another problem. So I've cleaned the hose. This is all clean. Put the clamp back on. How are they going to fit like this? Put this, line it back up. That's it. And tighten this up. Doesn't have to be super tight. Remember, this is just glass. But it has to be tight enough so it won't come off. And that is not going to slip off. So now I'll put this on it, and now it's been modified to go in the aquarium, and it'll sit like this. This will sit all the way to the bottom, and it's not tight, so it doesn't put any pressure on the glass to break the glass. And I had to go with a 1/2-inch drill. Then after I went with the 1/2-inch drill, I used emery paper, and I went in there and I just sanded the ID, sanded this ID so it would fit this absolutely perfect. So this is what the strainers look like from Eheim, and that's it. Now I won't have to worry about anything coming in here that's so big to clog this up. If anything, a leaf or whatever will go on the side of here, but there'll be enough surface area where it will keep running, and the canister filter will not stop like it did when I went away. So these are things that happen in this hobby. Good thing of it is the Plenum kept running. The Filtration didn't lose any of its bacteria. I just fired it right back up again. So right now I'm going to finish up cleaning up things and get everything fired back up again, and everything should go back to normal. Even after firing up the canister, I checked out the parameters of the aquarium. Still 0 nitrates, 0 nitrites, 7.3. So what I'm going to do now, since I haven't done a water change in over 2 weeks, I'm going to do about 3 to 5 gallon water change. I'm going to clean all that algae that's on the glass off that happened when I was gone, and everything should be just fine. The fish are fine, no problems at all. So this just goes to show you that when you watch these videos and people talk about how you shouldn't clean your canister filter because you're going to lose all your bacteria, with the anoxic filter, you don't have to worry about that. You're not going to lose your bacteria. Just take your BCB out of the canister, set it over to the side, clean your canister. Sterilize it with nice, clean, dechlorinated water, and put the BCB back, and you're ready to fire it back up again. You've lost 0, and you didn't have to go through the trouble of saving some of your dirty aquarium water to clean the substrate or your filter medium that's in there. If you had carbon, you would of course throw your carbon away and stuff like that, but you don't have to worry. And everything's nice, fresh, and clean, and then fire it back up again. And that's it. I hadn't any problems. Like I said, I don't know how long that filter was shut off. It could have been shut off for 5-6 days. It's still good. And like I said, what would you have done if that happened to you? You went away, came back, your canister filter was just sitting there. No water moving through it. Of course, we all know what you would have to do. You have to pull your whole canister out. You'd probably more likely have to empty it out. You'd have to clean everything because you forget about any bacteria. And if you had an ammonia spike, then your system isn't set up right. When you fired back up your canister filter, your system's not set up right. I had nothing, which is good. The slow-moving Plenum took care of everything why the canister was not working. Another good thing is the BCB did what it was supposed to do. The bacteria did what it was supposed to do. Now I fired it back up. Oxygen's coming back in there. Water's coming back in there. Any stuff that's in there like ammonia, because this has happened before to people all over the world where they forgot to turn their filter on. Me, it just happened to clog up. They fired it back up, did a water change, and the anoxic filter started taking the ammonia out immediately. The ammonia started leaving it, and they were so happy because with a normal filter, they would have had to start from square one. They would have had to go out and buy some kind of freeze-dried bacteria or whatever to re-inoculate their system. You have to start all over again. With the anoxic filter, you don't have to do that. It's all ready to go, no matter even if you have an accident or your power outage or anything else. So I wanted to make this video to let you know, no matter how skilled of a hobbyist you are, things happen that you have no control over. Have a backup system. Have a backup plan like this, especially if you have expensive fish like goldfish, saltwater fish, if you have that are very expensive, or if you have, let's say, just any expensive fish in your tank that you're going to be worried about. You know, discus. You know, discus aren't cheap. You know, I've seen discus go for $200, $250 a piece. And I'm sure other people have seen them even go higher. You're going to use a conventional filter, a conventional canister for fish that can run $250 a piece. I've seen goldfish run $300, $700 a piece. You know, and I've seen YouTube videos. These people have goldfish and they're beautiful and they spent a lot, all of a sudden they all die on them. You don't want that. You got a lot of money invested into your aquarium and into your fish. And it's your money, it's your fish. I'm just an ichthyologist telling you how to save your fish. I talked to a fellow not long ago. He called me up. He was from my YouTube channel, and he said how he is going to make an anoxic filter, and he went to his local fish store and they made fun of him. Oh, I never heard of that. Well, if they never heard of it, you're supposed to be up on the latest technology in an aquarium store. I would say those people then aren't up on the latest technology. And then they just laughed at him, is what he said. Oh, you're going to use that? You're not going to succeed. This is how people are. You're not going to succeed. They know nothing about it. They know nothing about the science behind it. They can't invent something better themselves. So they're just going to disc whatever you want to do because they can't sell you their products. And remember, if they can't sell you their products, their kids don't go to school. They can't buy the cars they want. They can't pay their mortgage. They want to sell you a product. So they laughed at them. Oh, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. You've never tried it, but it doesn't work. That's ridiculous thinking. Think about it. That's absolutely ridiculous thinking. That doesn't work. You've never tried it. How do you know? So the only thing I can say to these people owning these aquarium stores that laughed at this guy is, next time a doctor comes up to you and says, oh, I'm going to give you, we're going to give you some Lipitor and we're going to give you some Plavix. Oh, that doesn't work. Just tell them that doesn't work. That doesn't work. I don't want it. I had a relative that did exactly that. Didn't want to take the prescribed drugs that he was given after he had heart surgery. Guess what? Died of a heart attack. So you got to listen to somebody, and we got to keep moving. We got to keep rethinking things. If you stay stagnated into the old ways of doing things, you're going to get yourself in trouble. We do have old technology out there. It was very good technology. So you have to utilize it. I understand that. After all, canister filters, this is old technology. Under gravel filters is old technology. Hang on the back filters is old technology. Sponge filters is old technology. We still use it because it works. But new things are coming out. New technology, new ways of doing things. We understand microbiology a lot better than we did 50, 60 years ago. We understand how things work a lot better than we did 50, 60 years ago. If you're going to be stuck and not want to progress, then I don't know. What can I say? You might as well become Amish, because you're not going to want to progress. You're going to want to do things one way and not listen to the new technology that's out there. You have a phone, don't you? You use it. We used to have dial phones. You don't use a dial phone anymore. We progressed. This technology of a anoxic filtration system with a BCB basket, it's new technology. It's been around for 30 years. But to me, when someone says, oh, I never heard of that, what have you been doing? You've been living under a rock. You don't watch YouTubes. You don't read. You don't read anything from the United Kingdom. You don't do anything. No, they don't. They listen to salesmen that walk into their shops and sell them a product that they just invented and say, oh, look, hey, we just invented this. This is new and it does this. Oh, really? Okay, I'll sell it. How much is it? Oh, this is $20. Okay. See, because the salesman's telling them. But when this man went to the people he bought his aquarium from, they laughed at him. Oh, that's not going to work. Really? You know that for a fact. It's not going to work. So next time you go to your medical doctor, and if you wind up getting, hey, if you get the new COVID-19 virus, don't forget to tell the doctor, oh, I don't want that. It's not going to work because I was told on TV it doesn't work. Hydroxychloroquine. It's not going to work. I don't want it. I don't want to take zinc and hydroxychloroquine. I don't want it. I don't want it because TV says it doesn't work. When your life depends on it, guess what? You're going to take it. It's either that or die. Or sit there on a respirator fighting for your life. So if I got COVID-19, I'd be going in my doctor saying, I don't give a shit what the TV says. Give me the hydroxychloroquine and give me the zinc and give me what I'm supposed to have to save my life. See, and that's the thinking behind these aquarium. Oh, I don't want it. It's stupid. It's not going to work. Fine. It's your tank. It's your money. It's your aquarium. It's your fish. I did this for the hobbyists to save fish lives, not to destroy fish lives. It's all up to you, what you want to do and how you want to spend your money. All I know is it works for me. I'm very happy with it. And I definitely will continue using it the rest of my lifetime and with my fish. So until next time, this is Dr. Novak. Happy fish keeping.